Last night, us boxing fans were given a treat, I should say, by Turkey Al Sheikh, My Excellency, in LA. We had an amazing card. Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. I got the fights right here, and I'm going to be going over them because I have to talk about my thoughts on these fights. There was upsets, there was close fights, and it was just a great fight. And I'm sorry I didn't do my prediction video for this. I've been busy moving, and this is going to be the last time you're going to see this backdrop. I'm moving to an apartment, so but this isn't about me. We need to talk about the card because it was a crazy card last night, and it was super fun. So let's just get right into it because it was fun. Like, I'm not, like I tweeted out last night on my Twitter, I'm not the type of dude who's like, I needed this. But low key after that, like that night of boxing, bro, I needed that. So, nothing really happened in the prelims that like is worth noting. So let's just start off with Andy Cruz versus Antonio Moran. Antonio Moran, his name stood out to me because he was the dude who got knocked out cold, brutally by Devin Haney. So that's why a lot of people remember him for being embarrassed by one of the softest punchers, one of the best softest punchers in the sport. Got like his whole head turned around. Y'all seen the memes of him like at the post-fight press conference, like his whole head was turned around? Nah, that's what I think of Moran. And Moran gave Cruz a tough fight. He wobbled him in one of the rounds. I can't remember what round, but he wobbled him. I think it was about 7 rounds. He gave Cruz some work. And even for a 3-0 prospect, the fact he looked so good in his other fights and then he was getting hurt and getting some work by Moran was a bit concerning. But it's only one fight. This was only his 3rd or 4th fight. He was either 3-0 or 2-0. This was either his 3rd or 4th fight. So Andy Cruz is still good, but it wasn't the best performance. But I'm not going to look too deep into that. Next off, we got David Morrell versus Radivoj Kalajic. I don't even know how to say his name, but I do remember the dude because he fought Marcus Brown and he fought Artur Beterbiev. I believe he dropped Marcus Brown. I could be wrong, and lost a split decision. I could be wrong there, but I think he fought Marcus Brown. This is off the top of my head. And he fought Beterbiev. I think he went 4 rounds with Beterbiev before being knocked out. And last night he fought Morrell. Morrell, this big upcoming dude, everyone says he's going to be the next guy to beat Canelo, going to be the next guy to beat Benavidez. And Morrell went all 12 rounds with him. And I was not scoring this. I was kind of doing other things. I had the fight on in the background. I was watching it occasionally. I heard it. Some people were saying it was kind of close. I do not think so whenever I looked at the TV. Like, the scorecards were all like, I think 2 judges had a 117, 111. 1 judge had a 119, 109. So it wasn't that close. And, he was getting rounds in, so that was good for Morrell. I don't think Morrell is going to beat Benavidez, but I still think he's a good fighter. And if a guy goes 12 rounds, that's good. Like, when Teofimo fought Nakatani, Masayoshi Nakatani, I think is his name, and he had trouble before going into the Lomachenko fight, I think that was fantastic experience with him because these guys need to know that you're not invincible sometimes. You need to get work and get rounds in. So I think it was a good learning experience for Morrell. And same thing with Cruz. I would still say Morrell's a prospect, low-key. And Andy Cruz, obviously, is a prospect. He doesn't even have 5 fights yet. So I think the first 2 fights of the card were great experience and great work for David Morrell and Andy Cruz. Jared Anderson versus Martin McCauley. Wow. That was crazy. So I do not know much about Martin McCauley. I learned he posted some CP on his Twitter or something. I don't even know the whole details of it. But very questionable person. I confused him with, I think his name's Okoli. He's a cruiserweight who's really good. I think I confused the two, so I never really looked at Martin McCauley. But Martin McCauley, bro, he destroyed Jared Anderson, and I'm not a big fan of Jared Anderson. He talks a lot of crap, and he's just a tough. He's young. He's super young. He's only 24. But he got destroyed last night. The dude was just too big, and he couldn't hurt him with any of his punches. And props to Jared Anderson, because when a dude that big is beating the crap out of you, anyone would have quit after the first knockdown. But he was fine afterwards. He kept getting up. But that was a brutal beating. So Martin McCauley, look out for him, because him versus Zhang, that'd be a super fight. That was... He's a big, 6'8" tank that is hard to budge. And I think Martin McCauley is going to give anyone a problem. So... Martin McCauley looked impressive. And Jared Anderson, I think he can still be some top guys, but Martin McCauley was just a tank and totally totally wrong style matchup for him. So next up after that, we had Andy Ruiz versus Jarrell Miller, and this was a robbery. I'm just going to say it straight up. I do not like Andy Ruiz, and I'm going to straight up say that, even though I have like a platform and I'm supposed to be an unbiased boxing like person. I don't like Andy Ruiz because I feel like his whole career was based off of a fluke. He was getting whooped by Anthony Joshua for 3 rounds, got knocked down, and then he landed a perfect counter left hook right on the equilibrium that totally messed up Joshua for the whole night. And like, it's just a dude who didn't take boxing very seriously. Like, look how fat he is. And when he fought Joshua in the rematch, when Joshua wasn't like getting lazy, and remember, he was like a 5-day replacement for Jarrell Miller, the guy who he fought. And well, that was on Jarrell Miller because he took PEDs. But you know, I don't like Ruiz because I think he's just a fluke. And we fought Joshua when Joshua was focused. Joshua destroyed him for 12 rounds. So I don't really like Ruiz. And I think Jarrell Miller, I'm not a big fan of him either. He talks a lot of trash, and I was excited when Dubois beat the crap out of him. But he was dominating the action the entire night over Jarrell Miller. So I don't even know how they gave it a draw. It just seemed like Miller wasn't landing a lot of punches, but Ruiz was rarely throwing. It was just Ruiz on the ropes the whole time, staying covered up, throwing an occasional punch because he was not used to being backed up by a big guy like that normally. Guys like Ruiz cannot fight backing up because they're so big and strong, and he is super quick, but he's not used to fighting a guy that's going to back him up like that, a dude bigger than him. So Jarrell Miller, I felt he probably won. I didn't score any of these fights because I felt like all these were going to end in knockout. But, yeah, I felt Jarrell Miller was robbed, and we could see a rematch. And I think Jarrell Miller, he had so many opportunities to knock out Ruiz, I felt like, but he didn't take them. So it is what it is. I felt that was a robbery. And Isaac Cruz versus Jose Valenzuela. I was rooting for Cruz when I was like going into the fight, and I was like, yo, I want to see Cruz put on a masterclass, and I thought it was going to go under 6 rounds. Jose Valenzuela put on one of the best boxing performances I've ever seen. I'm not even playing with you, bro. He boxed the shit out of Isaac Cruz, bro. His reach was so big, and Isaac Cruz was just trying to lunge at him, and every single time his defense was so good. I don't rate Jose Valenzuela because I thought like he got knocked out by Edwin de los Santos, who's good, but I just didn't rate him that high. But he looked so good. He rarely got hit at all by Isaac Cruz because he kept him off all night with the jab, and his head movement is, bro. I was literally watching this fight. I was like, oh, bro, he's looking so slick. Like he was looking so slick, just boxing his head off. And it was a split decision, and the crowd was booing because he was in LA, and a guy who's coming forward Mexican style didn't get the decision. But it was probably like 9-3 Valenzuela, bro. He destroyed Isaac Cruz, and it was really beautiful to see him do that. So, yeah. Jose Valenzuela, got to give him big props on that because that was crazy. Okay, now we go to the main fight, Terrence Crawford versus Israel Madrimov. I said after Usyk beat Fury, when Crawford beats Madrimov, he will be the number 1 pound-for-pound fighter again. And it was a close fight. So a lot of people last night thought Madrimov won. A lot of people had it a draw, but most of the people thought Crawford won a 7-5 close fight. I did not score it. Stay tuned for the punch count I'm going to make on this video. I should have it up by tomorrow. Really depends because these punch counts are tiring on me. I have to watch the entire fight, and it takes like 5 hours. So I got some of it done already, but like I don't know when I'll be done with it exactly. But it was a close fight. I didn't score, and I felt like it was pretty close the whole way. But at the end, I feel like what really showed who won was Crawford in round 12 when he went out there and really dominated the 12th round and decided like, I want this more. And Madrimov, his face, faces don't mean anything after fight, like Golovkin Canelo too. Let's not even get into that. But his face was really messed up, and I was surprised. And Crawford had a little bit of wear and tear, but not as much as Madrimov. And if I had to just guess the score watching it, I'd probably say 7-5, 8-4 Crawford. I do think Crawford's number 1 pound for pound with that win over Madrimov. I think it was a close fight, but I think if they fight again, Crawford will be less cautious and probably knock him out. Will the rematch happen? I'm not sure, but it was a close fight. Madrimov put up a great performance. He's a great fighter, and everyone's saying how like, oh, Crawford can't beat Canelo. There's some lady on Twitter last night that was just like, keep Canelo's name out of your mouth. And just like, bro, Madrimov would have gave Canelo that work regardless of the two weight division difference. Crawford looked good, I feel like, against a guy like I wouldn't say he looked good, but he won the fight. And I don't see a way you can say this is a robbery. It was a close fight. Could you have Madrimov winning? I'm going to have to rewatch and let you know. I really just wanted to talk about the entire card and my thoughts before I made that. But how did you guys score it? I'm going to rewatch the fight, and then I'm going to do the punch count. So it's going to be interesting. Shout out Crawford. I think he's number 1 pound for pound. Shout out Madrimov. Shout out everyone on the card. Jared Anderson, you're tough. Props Martin McCauley on the win. Shout out the 2 prospects, Morrell and Cruz. I felt Miller was robbed. And what's the other fight? Jose Valenzuela, props on that. But it was a great fight card. I really want to see more of these Saudi cards in America for like us American fans to go to, because that was a crazy card last night. And Eminem surprised me because I feel like Eminem's washed. And look, I love Eminem. I even have next to the Igor Tyler the Creator album, I got the Marshall Mathers LP, which is like one of the best records of all time. But Eminem's been washed since like Relapse, so I didn't think much of it. But he performed good right before the Crawford fight, so it was a great card overall. What do y'all think? Yeah, that's all I gotta say. So yeah, God bless and peace.